was really thinking of becoming a Maui boy. And so, anybody want to help support him to be able to live here and continue his work? Donations, food, everything you can do. We can keep Michael here, then he's be an incredible voice to make the next thing happen.
And we'll address this 7 days a week, so we can make some changes.
So just to let you know what's coming up, I'm going to talk about the ordinance, and Sacha's going to do a little piece from the heart. I'm going to come back for about 10 minutes and give a little thing from satellite so you can see what's happening from the satellite, and a new form of disbursement I'm calling chem bombs. We're doing aerial explosions. I'm going to show you what that looks like and how that's working. Rosalind Peterson from the California Skywatch, a very informed woman. We were going to try to have her here live, but that didn't work. So we're going to try to have her on Skype, but that didn't work. So we're going to put her live on a phone from Skype for about 10 minutes, and she's going to talk about how it's affecting agriculture, both the global dimming and the aluminum going into the plants and the alkalinizations of the soils. Then Bonnie Marsh is going to do a short presentation. You're all getting a little piece of paper from her about how to protect yourself from results of chemtrails and radiation and heavy metals, because they're all kind of mixed in together. And then at the end, we're going to break into some groups to try to do some action. One working on the Clean Sky Ordinance, which I'm going to talk about. Another is to work on the Maui Skywatch.org website, where we can put all of our information, our pictures, and data on one place where people can reference it. Forming the Maui Skywatch Organization Committee, so we can have an ongoing group that will meet and continue to keep this energy going, because it's not going to just be me and Michael, it's going to be all of us if this is going to work. And another for downloading satellite data and doing some research. So you all got copies of the Maui Clean Sky Ordinance. The purpose of this, A, is to get something passed in our county council. Everyone says, what can we do? Well, this is a way of actually putting our thoughts into action rather than just being angry about what's happening. We can say, yes, we can make a statement as a community. And it requires the community coming together to make it happen. We've worked with Lauren Pang from the Health Department, who's very supportive, and I just want to make a note about Lauren Pang or any other politician. They cannot come out and say, those are chemtrails up there, because then they have to prove it and they're liable and things like that. That's our job to show that. That's not the politicians who are going to work with us. So we put the Maui Sky Ordinance, Clean Sky Ordinance, into a way of a preemptive thing. There's plenty of literature out there that shows that the geoengineers are planning to do it. Even though we know they've been doing it, now they're trying to say, yes, we're planning, we want to do it. You saw that in the movie tonight. And there's things in journals, and we can prove that. So going on that, we're doing a preemptive concept where, okay, if you plan to spray something in the sky that lands on us, then first produce an environmental impact statement, which we approve, and get our informed consent for doing that. So I'm going to briefly read this to you. Whereas the people of Maui County recognize that geoengineers propose global disbursements of aerosols and other particulates for the stated goal of cooling the planet. And whereas the studies have shown that disbursements from stratospheric aerosol engineering and other such programs contain toxic substances with unknown consequences to the health and environment. And whereas the people of Maui County have the right to be informed by a full disclosure through an environmental impact statement of the health and environmental implications of such programs. Whereas any such program or experimental environmental program with potentially adverse health effects and environmental implications need the informed consent of the people of Maui County. Whereas Maui County has jurisdiction over any deliberate disbursement of substances that enter our breathing atmosphere, land on our soil, or come down on our rain, other than normal approved byproducts of industry, commerce, and transportation. We're still working with lawyers on how to state that whole piece. So, therefore, as a preemptive measure to safeguard the health and environment of Maui County, we propose the following ordinance. No entity may engage in disbursement of aerosols, chemicals, or any particulate matter that enter into the sky that may enter the breathing atmosphere, into the rain, or may land on the soils of Maui County, or engage in geoengineering, climate engineering, or any other such activity that may alter the weather or alter the sunlight in Maui County, without first presenting an environmental impact statement to be approved by Maui County Council and receiving the informed consent of the Maui County Council. Exempt from this law are approved products and byproducts of normal industry, agriculture, commerce, and transportation. Any entity found to be in violation of this ordinance shall receive a mandatory fine of $250,000 per day if each disbursement violation is detected, and shall be subject to civil claims for both health and environmental damages and cleanup costs. What do you think?
Yes.
Here, here?
Good start.
Okay, yeah.
Each and every one of these public officers is taking an oath of office. And you can hold them accountable for that. So if they violate their oath of office, it's first.
Right, well, number one, we want this to pass. So we've specifically written in things that doesn't deal with GMO, it doesn't deal with cane burning. We try to clean the slate and just have it a one-topic thing, number one. Number two, most of the public officers don't know doodly squat about this. They're just as in the dark as anybody else, and we have an education program to bring them up to date. When we met with the mayor's office, they were at first completely oh, chemtrail people, we don't want anything to do with you. You're a bunch of angry kooks who yell at us all the time and send us angry letters because that's what they've received.
Are they receptive?
And so we went to the mayor's office. We didn't talk to the mayor, we talked to his people, along with Lauren Pang and Rob Parsons, our environmental coordinator. And we brought those people up to speed, what's happening, helped them realize. And they thanked us, said, thank you, you're the first chemtrail person who hasn't just come screaming and accusing things at us. And thank you for some information. So this is a way where we can do something about it. Ellie Cochran is willing to submit this to county council. But it will take a groundswell of people's support as to why they should pass this bill. It's going to take a lot of people writing letters, doing actions, sign waving and getting in the newspaper and making some noise about this, that yes, that people want this to be passed. If we can't pass this on Maui County, where can we do this? I mean, Maui has maybe the highest percentage of conscious people, to the population. We can hopefully get at least 1%, 2% of our population knowledgeable in writing letters, which, in the big numbers isn't that many. 1,200 people is 1% or so of our population. We should be able to do that. I'll get you in a moment. And so this is what we're proposing. And to get there from here, we need to create a website, number one, where all of our information, our data, our blogs, everything that we have scientifically and what we're observing in the pictures, and the satellite images and the documentation, the health testing, the rain testing, all that where somebody can go to one place and do it. And we have a webmaster Pi who's willing to help with it, but we need other people who are interested in websites and have information and data to help work on that website and bring it up to snuff. We have MauiSkywatch.org, and we've chosen the word Skywatch because there's many other groups around the country called Skywatch. It kind of keeps this all together. It's not against anything, it's just a Skywatch. So we've kind of chosen that name unless there's a better name that comes up right now. That's what we've come up with. We need to form an organization so they can say, who's sponsoring this bill? Well, Maui Skywatch. Well, who's that? Michael Murphy? That ain't going to cut it. It's going to take to be a group of people with email lists and people who come to meetings and city council people can come and talk to and, to make this happen as we develop it. So at the end of this talk, we'll have about 20 or 30 more minutes of information and stuff, and then we're going to break into some groups. I'm going to talk about each one of these, also an action committee, because just by going out with a sign holding banners alongside of the highway, newspapers have to come and take pictures of it and make an article. Right now they don't want to touch it because chemtrails is kind of like 9/11 and UFOs, it's like a conspiracy thing, and we got to pull it out of that weird level where they can dump it and disregard it into something that's actually happening and change the consciousness with it. Right now, Maui News doesn't want to touch it. They're going to call it, back the last meeting we had, they put a little article in the paper about it. They call it persistent contrails. Well, persistent contrails is an oxymoron in the tropics because we don't have them here. You only have it in colder climates where you have condensation from cold air. We don't have contrails except very short ones here. So another thing is someone who helped download satellite images because they have to be, every half hour they're updated, and once a day someone has to go to the website and pull these off so we can start getting real-time sequences of what's happening so people can see these from the sky. So these are the things that I'm presenting. And if a quorum of people comes together, if an organization arises out of this as concerned citizens, if other people step forward and rise up and say, yes, I want to take charge, I want to make something happen, then we can do a positive statement and actually make some difference here. If we can't do it on Maui, where can we do it? Tomorrow, Michael and possibly myself are going to go to Kauai. They're having 2 meetings similar to this on Kauai, in different parts of Kauai. They're very politically, environmentally active there. Their environmental groups are very, very strong. Like they stopped the super ferry from coming in. And so they're way ahead of us on organizing and getting together. I'd like to see that same sort of thing. And some leaders rise out of this group that want to take charge and make some things happen. So you had a question?
Yeah, I had this idea when you said people holding signs. It was, you probably heard the phenomenon of flash mobs. So what if a bunch of us came together and built signs that said, look at the sky on days that we know for sure that there's really weird chemtrails in the sky. We stood at the 4 corners of the Hollywood Highway and off-highway. Just said, look up, chemtrails, or something like that. Like something instantaneous where people would actually know what we're talking about.
That would be awesome.
I've seen them driving back to Kahului plenty of times.
Yeah, and I can make signs on a wide format printer. We did this when the whale sonar issue was coming up. I put them on big sheets, made them on a wide format printer so you can say whatever you want really quickly, and taped them to pieces of thin plywood so we could hold them up and people could read them.
Yeah,
and that would be a great action.
Down there, we could just get 20 of us to drive down there real quick and hold the signs for like 1 hour, and then do that a couple times a month.
I have a 5 by 25 foot banner, which I actually brought. It was at the We the Vote event on September 11th. But when I come back out, we'll be bringing those, and we will be hitting the street. And those are very effective because you can see it says, "Look up, they're spraying us." Google chemtrails / geoengineering, and then another one says chemtrails geoengineering equals crimes against humanity. So they're very effective.
So that's excellent. Can you help spearhead that?
Yeah, we have
Not yet.
to text each other, I think.
We what?
All we have to do is text each other and have the...
Can you help organize that? It's a beautiful idea. It just takes someone to say, yes, I like that idea. I'm willing to do that.
Yes, I like that idea.
Excellent. So when we break in groups, action committee for you, and let's bring that up because that's a wonderful way when it's actually happening. We text and go out and we have some people who are willing to do that.
Yeah.
Were other people willing to stand behind and do that? And on spray days, raise your hand and say we'd be willing.
I already do that.
Fantastic. So, what's your name?
Simon.
Simon. So all you signed up for our email list here.
Actually, you can all at the end see Simon, and you can get your phone number, so you're on his committee.
It's text. Everyone gets text. Said, okay, we're going to go do it. And that's a wonderful way.
Yeah, let's get organized.
Because eventually the media's got to pay attention when that's happening because it's just weird enough they have to look at it.
Well, everybody knows that the sky is changing.
Right.
They should, or too much antidepressants.
There was one guy doing that who was wearing a gas mask, but he was one of those angry people who was yelling at the mayor's office and was expressing his anger rather than trying to educate. And that's where I have to say with all of us to think about how we express that. And Sancho's going to talk about that.
I tried to talk to the environmental science teacher at King Kekauiki High School, and he was mildly interested, and then he totally shut me off and said he did not have time to look into it. So I would like to see everybody contact him. And I can give you his name is Matthew Brown, and I think that would be another way of
Well, as we get a website going, that's a good thing to put into the blog and encourage other people to do it. And if you can write an email that can go out to this group, that everyone can get their, either a person's email, who to talk to. But we don't want to come on aggressively to people, because
Right.
people don't, it's a big shift in consciousness to think, why would they do that? All these things come up for people.
This is a person with a physics degree.
Right, but even, it's a big shift, so we have to be patient with people and just quietly inform them. Eventually they'll figure it out. It'll come around. They'll hear it from other people and, then it'll come up.
I recall a quote from Mother Teresa, I don't remember exactly, but didn't she say something like, invite me to an anti-war rally and I won't go, a peace rally, I'm happy to be there. The idea of being positive, because people that are perpetrating this kind of thing are very effective at spinning things. So to say that you spin people to be angry troops, and it shuts people off.
Right.
Approach it in a positive manner.
Pro-clean air.
Yeah, be pro.
That's why we're calling it the Maui Clean Sky Ordinance. If someone come up with a better name, I'll go for it, but right now that's the best we've all been brainstorming. Simple to the point. What do we want? We want a clean sky, please. We want to look up there and not see that aerosol.
Just like today.
Like today.
You couldn't convince anybody.
But, of course, you don't realize, I look at the satellites and I see how massive the sprays are. I'm going to get into this in a few minutes. And what's, it's off the scale what's really going on out there.
I just want to say I've got Lauren Peng's Pukalani presentation online. It's on at concernedvoices.com. But his point of just looking at what is going on and not trying to come up with why it's going on
Right.
is a key point that it seems like you're addressing in here, which
He
is
says
something
make
people
no
need to stay
suppositions about why they're doing it. Just say that they're doing
Yeah,
it. But to
because-
try to say, well, it's for mind control, or it's for this, and then someone will think, oh, that's too far out for me. I don't,
Because you
can't
lose
go
so
there.
many people looking at why it's happening and trying to come up with the theories, but if you address if it is happening, they have to get
Right.
it,
And realize Lauren cannot politically come out and say, yes, those are chemtrails, I know they are. He cannot do that, otherwise we don't want him to do that, he'll get shut down.
Yeah.
He can only look at the literature and say they're planning to do it. He can do the measurements and say, yes, we have high levels of thing, but I don't know what that correlates to. I can't see a correlation because it's not clear enough yet. So he's got to be very careful about what he says and will stand behind. He doesn't want to be the one saying what that is up there. That's our job to do that. Same for Ellie Cochran. She does it. She can't go and she can't prove that. I do have a dream that I want to get someone with a jet and fly me up into those clouds with a device to measure airflow and put it onto a membrane and send that in for testing and start testing the clouds. That's the final proof. We can fly up there and measure that particular cloud. Anybody happens to know of someone who's got a plane that can fly up? I'm looking for it. I'm also looking for some funding. I know everybody out here knows some people who've got some serious money. Yeah? Maybe they're even in this room right now. No, it's serious, doesn't take a lot. But I'm looking for someone to fund Michael Murphy to be able to continue his work here and live here and put his 100% behind this. Because he thinks, gosh, we can actually pass this on Maui and Kauai and let's put our energy toward making this happen. It's a statement that people are making and making a law out of. I'm looking for some toys we'd like to have. Catching rain samples will cost $50 each time you send it in, test it, and find the level of aluminum, barium, and strontium in it. But I'd like to buy for $1,000. We had $1,000. We could get an air sampler unit that pulls a known amount of air across a membrane. You send that membrane in for testing lab, and you can test what's in the actual air right down here, not just the rain. And for about $4,000, you can get a laser particle counter that can measure the particles in the air, and give us a numerical density of how much this chaff is actually in our atmosphere down here in the land at any one time. We can start correlating that to the flow as we can correlate that to what the air sampler says, what the amount of product we have in the air at that moment. And we can start getting real scientific data that nobody can fall behind. $5,000, that's all it's taking. If anybody can help us raise $5,000 to buy these things, these toys, that would help us out tremendously to document this, proof positive. Same thing for getting up there and flying up there at the jet and actually measuring it. This is the level of what we need to do to really have proof positive, what it is. Last question.
I've seen pictures on this all inside some of the jets.
Yeah.
Cylinder.
Big cylinders, yeah, it's all there.
I
It's,
haven't seen that seems to be like what the cylinders
yeah.
are. Where is that information?
I'd love to put that on our website. So if you'd like to help bring information, put it on the website. So as we have those pictures are available, we just need to put them out and people can see them. They're up now. We just get it in one place where people can see it all. Because otherwise, you spend a lot of time fishing the internet and you don't know who to believe or what or where it comes from or if they fabricated it. So we need to put a really good website that really shows the information people can go to. So I'd love for you to be a part of pulling that information. Yeah, find them and help them get in a pie and let's get it on. Yeah. Okay, last question.
Do you have a tax deductible format for donations?
I don't, but we can filter it through other means and get a person a tax deduction. There's other organizations that you can pay it to and then they'll pay it to us. Now we get the tax deduction. Or we can create it, but I'm not going to do that. It might. There are some laws, federal laws, that says we can't, state law. Blue Scott. Can you dig it up and let us know? Can you dig it up for us and bring it forward? So that's what I want. Each person to do your part and bring it forward. Don't say, well, you should look it up online. No, look it up online and bring it forward to us so we can do it. Really think about how you can contribute and what you can bring to make this happen. This is big if we can make this ordinance happen. This is really a positive action.
Do you have a forum yet?
Huh?
Is there a forum, like where we can?
Not yet. Pi's putting that together, so I hope the next few weeks we'll get that and let everybody know when it comes up. And Satya's going to make a presentation.